Welcome to The Growth Show with me as your host, Joe Camerato. I am an entrepreneur who created my company, National Business Capital, from literally $0 out of my spare bedroom to over $2 billion in business loans secured for entrepreneurs nationwide. Since 2007, I have seen just about every type of business. I provide money and help entrepreneurs access capital to scale fast, but I also know that it's possible for you as you scale to replace yourself, to build systems, processes, and great teams of people that can live on without you so you can actually enjoy your life and your company can still grow. I will not only tell you the peaks and valleys of my story, but I will also bring on world-class entrepreneurs to tell their stories and share their lessons on their growth journeys. Welcome to The Growth Show. Welcome to The Growth Show. I've got an excited guest today. As you guys know, it's all about showcasing amazing entrepreneurs that are growing, pushing through their limits, and hearing those stories of the successes, but also of the challenges and adversity that they've had to overcome to grow. Super excited to have Peter Sage here today join us. He's got one heck of a story. He's done a lot of great things, but he's also overcome some real big challenges in his life, and we both share the same views about how important mindset is. So I'm excited to talk about that today. Peter is a serial entrepreneur, author, master trainer, international educator, philosopher, and public speaker in the field of human behavior, personal development, and psychology of success. Peter has 25 years experience in growing fast-paced enterprises. He has launched, operated, and brought to success over 24 companies, several of which he took from scratch to over 8 figures. A highly experienced and world-class presenter, he has spoken on 5 continents and is frequently asked to deliver keynotes and workshops, entertaining and inspiring audiences all across the globe. Also a long-standing prior member to the EO, or Entrepreneurs Organization, and served as the chairman of the London Yes Group. Peter, thank you for being on The Growth Show.
Hey, Joe, real pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, my pleasure. There's so many probably different directions we could take this show today. And it just seems like there's so many stories and we could probably talk for hours. But I just, really would love to hear, like, how'd you get started? Where'd you come from? What has made you, like, how has mindset, influenced your success? And I definitely want to hear about some of the big issues that you've had to, or challenges you've overcome while, growing yourself and your businesses.
Wow. Okay. In 20, 30 minutes, let's see what we got. I'll keep it short on me because I don't want people listening to think this is about me. It's about them. And, rather than put, other people on pedestals, which by contrast minimizes, our own greatness. I think I can best serve people today by really just giving maybe a little background so they understand, my experience, but really focus on what can we do to shift their thinking or give them the mental tools to be able to go and face whatever challenge they're dealing with in life. So, for me, anyway, dropped out of school at 16. I've got no formal qualifications. Got a PhD in results, and essentially decided at 17 I was going to be an entrepreneur. That was my decision. I didn't want to work for somebody else. I figured that by working for somebody else, you're always going to get paid less than what you're worth. So why not set the bar yourself? And that's really been my mantra. I've been unemployable for 33 years now, and
nice job, well done.
Yeah. But what's really helped during that entire time was a parallel passion for personal development. 17, I picked up Think and Grow Rich. I picked up Unlimited Power, the usual stuff, and really realized that, whoa, hang on, there's an industry that teaches success. And where the hell was that at school? Right?
Yeah.
That's what I want to learn, not algebra, freaking periodic table. No, I want to learn what gets us up in the morning excited versus not excited. What makes us swing the bat and hit a home run versus not? That we didn't have lessons like that to sign up to in school. Almost everything taught in academia these days is out of date by the time it's taught, with very little practical application in modern society. And if you speak about entrepreneurship, you're not going to get the certainty of being an entrepreneur by taking an MBA. because the very definition of being an entrepreneur means that you have a higher ability to handle uncertainty. So if you're trying to mitigate that by getting the certainty of getting some structure under your belt with a piece of paper, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I hire a lot of MBAs. But when it comes to a true level of entrepreneur, nothing is going to be able to compete with your ability to adapt and create an emotionally mature mindset. Because there's a lot
100%.
of biologically mature people running around as emotional teenagers. I don't know if you figured that out. But we don't get to choose. Yeah, we don't get to choose whether we grow biologically. That's part of the rule set. And you can take pills and put on creams and all that kind of protocol. But I've got news for you. 20 years from now, you're going to look different, right?
Yeah.
So maturing emotionally is a choice. And if I can help steer some people to make some directions on that highway today, then I'm happy to do so.
You've become one of the best personal development coaches in the world. And is that something that you always wanted to be, or how did that come about for you to go down that path? What brought you there?
Yeah, definitely not what I set out to be. I think it's just a path again of that level of evolution. When I got into personal growth, it was so that I could win, I could be more successful, I could get stuff. And it was really trying to cover up the insecurities as a young man as to thinking that I wasn't enough. I didn't get a college education, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And for me, it was all about achievement. It was ego. It was self-centered. It was survival based. And it got me stuff. I'm in my early 20s. I'm buying Ferraris for cash and I'm flying Concorde and I'm doing all the other stuff. But inside, I'm feeling hollow. Yeah. And many entrepreneurs often realize there is a huge difference between a life-chasing success and a life-chasing fulfillment. And most of them get to the top of Success Mountain. They don't like the view. They want to jump off. Yeah. And even if they do cash out, if they hit their number, right, what do they spend their money on? Well, I'll tell you, right? They pay for their divorce, right? They hire a personal trainer at best or a surgeon at worst to get their health back. They sacrifice trying to climb the mountain, and they buy their kids loads of crap. So hopefully they love them again because they missed them growing up because they were too busy in the office. It's a joke to most people. So for me, I set out on that path. I wanted to be successful. I had some corrections. I'm very pleased to say it was in my mid to late 20s where I grew out of that. I realized that that's not that's a tunnel with no cheese. And so as I started to apply personal development more into the business through the lens of how do I add value, not how do I get sales, I started to shift. But my identity, Joe, always was first and foremost, I am an entrepreneur and I'm a speaker, teacher second. I kind of did that because I enjoyed sharing what I was learning. But over the last few years, specifically the last 5, I've had a shift in identity. So I'm now a teacher first, and I also happen to have that as my main business. So it's been that kind of switch. The universe really kind of pulled me into track by saying, hey, listen, there's a lot of people you can help here. Stop making it about you and see what you can do out in the world. So that's kind of the short answer to a long question.
Yeah, no, I love it. I'd say, mindset has been really, a contributor to everything in my success in my life at home and, with my family, but also, in my business. And without keeping my mindset in check and being emotionally fit, I never would be able to do what I, have done in growing my business, starting it from nothing, and also overcoming all the challenges that come along with life and running a business. And I think that's where, a lot of entrepreneurs really go wrong. They don't take that piece as serious. Sometimes people think all that stuff is hokey stuff, but it's really real. And I think mindset and discipline, if you really go back to any thing that you've achieved that's great in your life, I think it all goes back to mindset and discipline. So I couldn't agree more. What was it like working, with and learning and training, with Tony Robbins? I think we share the same, big, Tony Robbins fan, and I've done a lot of, work with him. What was that like? Because you started with him a long time back before I think he was as famous and popular as he is today.
Well, yeah, I think 2002 I became his youngest serving trainer, which I was quite proud of at the time, and I spent basically a decade and a half traveling around the world, with Tony doing strategic interventions, therapeutic interventions, working with participants in the seminars, leading teams, that kind of stuff, training his trainers or upcoming trainers. So that was great. And it did give me a really strong foothold in understanding the psychology around why we do what we do. I've had some great teachers in that, and Tony's definitely one of them. But it really understands human behavior is one aspect of personal growth. Very few people understand or apply. And you can sum it up quite easily. 99% of personal growth is focused on knowledge mastery. How do you hustle? How do you do more? How do you get your thumb out of your butt and set goals and go get them cowboy? Whereas a small part of that is focused, instead of on knowledge mastery, on self-mastery. Because it's not what you learn, it's who's applying what you've learned.
Yeah.
A gym memberships don't get you fit. Showing up and hitting the treadmill when your mind's making an excuse is what gets you fit. So same in business, and specifically because entrepreneurs, as I said, they don't know how much they're going to earn next week, and most of the public can't live with that.
Yeah, this is true. When did you decide to start your own company? How old were you, and why'd you get started? 17
years old. I basically worked for my dad for a short while. He just owned his own job. He had 2 staff. I was one of them. And and I learned a great lesson. Never work for your parents because they never pay you enough. I was earning $40
Good
a week.
lesson to learn young.
Child labor, I think they call it. But I was earning $40 a week. And I turned around to my dad at the end of one week and I said, "Dad, I'm leaving." And he said, "What are you getting into, son?" And I actually said to him, I says, "I don't know, but I have a belief, which I still have today, which is if you jump in the deep end, you can only swim." People aren't fragile. We give ourselves far less credit for what we're able to endure than we do. Our biggest tragedy is that we normalize mediocrity rather than go for greatness. But when it came to that, I'm like, I took my last $40. I paid my mum £10 board. I paid my mate £10 that I owed him. And I had my last $20 to my name. And I bought 15 pounds of the toys from a wholesaler. And I used my last £5 to stand a flea market. And I sold the toys for £30. I doubled up. And I went back the next week. I bought 25 pounds of the toys. I did £5 to stand on the car boot sale. And my mom gave me credit on board because she could see I was doing something. And I sold a lot there for $50. And I built up over about 3-4 weeks till I got enough to cover a market stall. And then I started doing markets and then, toy parties and Sunday markets. And my first business was Pete's Toys. I was 17. My catchphrase was Pete the Toy Boy. It certainly wouldn't work today. That was it.
Maybe it would work in a different industry today.
If I was a baker, maybe sugar daddy. These days. No comment.
Exactly.
But I remember I left my dad in June, and by October I'd made my first 1,000, and it was a huge shift for me because I realized I'd made it, I'd not earned it, and I knew then that my toolbox, my trade, was what was between my ears. And all of the businesses, nearly 30 of them now, have been in virtually different industries. I don't have a trade. My trade is I am an entrepreneur. I know how to make money. I know how to build businesses. That's all I've ever done. And some have been spectacular successes. Some have been majestic failures. Some have wiped me out. Some have cost me millions. Some have made millions. And some really should have stayed ideas when I was drunk. But apart from everything else, it's given me a huge amount of experience. And it's just an industry I love. And I love helping other entrepreneurs avoid some of the mistakes that I certainly made in the early days.
Yeah. And, when we were talking earlier, so you really you had some successes, some wins. I think you're kind of at the top. And then you wound up getting arrested and spending some time in jail for something that sounds completely ridiculous and just almost like unconstitutional. But please share about what happened there and where were you at in that stage of life, like age-wise and just and the wins that you had.
6 years ago, not that long ago.
Wow. Oh my God. Okay. So I thought you were younger.
No. This was 6 years ago, and I lost everything. I came out of jail $250,000 in debt with legal fees and all sorts of stuff. Lost my business, lost my wedding, lost everything. And I was never arrested. This is the whole point. I was a civil prisoner. This was a civil action. I was arguing a multi-million-dollar business deal that we'd done years before with a multi-billion-dollar company that I won't mention, called Hewlett-Packard. And they essentially knocked on my door one day, suing me for 17 million over some deal that we'd done where I'd given them 12 million in full for some products, resold them at a small margin, and they said, we didn't give you permission to resell it. I'm like, you didn't give me a contract saying I couldn't. I own full title. I can set fire to it if I want. Anyway, they were just a little upset because some of the people I sold to were distributors that bought it cheaper, and they wanted to discourage me from doing it again. And I was already out of that market. This was several years after the deals, and they knocked on my home with these bully boy lawyers, Mishcon de Rea, which was Princess Diana's divorce lawyers, $100 million firm, freezing all my accounts, saying, essentially, give us $100,000, we'll make it all go away. And it was extortion. It was financial bullying, and I wasn't going to play. I'm like, no, thank you. That's not how it's done. All right, I've done nothing wrong. You can't prove I've done anything wrong. I wouldn't have sold it if you gave me a contract saying I couldn't. That's why are you doing this? Anyway, I wouldn't play ball, so they issued a contempt of court application after that, trying to pressure me into a settlement, saying I'd breached a freezing order, which I hadn't. I looked at their argument. It was clever. You'd expect it from a $100 million firm, but it got no water. It wouldn't hold any water in court. So I thought. So we went to court, and they sold it to the judge, gave me 6 months unsegregated in the most violent prison in England. Didn't see it. Went from 50 staff to 3 staff in 3 days. I mean, like, lost everything. And it was, looking back, probably the most incredible thing that's ever happened, because we talk about identity. I am an entrepreneur. At that point, I had a choice to make. If I said, I am a prisoner now, I'd have gone into victim mode, and that's another tunnel, no cheese. Instead, I asked better questions, and that's something that separates good entrepreneurs. That the ability to ask better questions. Questions are the steering wheel of the mind. Questions direct focus. Why does my life suck? Your brain's going to answer the question it's designed to. What's great about this I've not noticed yet? What's something out of this I could learn rather than what have I lost? Direct focus. So I know identity played a big part.
Going back to mindset.
Yeah, vegetarians don't eat meat, not because they have different teeth. Right? It's because their identity is, I am a vegetarian. And once you have an identity, it governs what you order off the menu. So for me, at that point, I decided that the identity that I would have is I was going to be a secret agent of change, undercover Jedi. And I was going to go in. The universe clearly had set this up for a reason beyond my conscious understanding. But if I live in a friendly universe, then whatever's happening to me is for my benefit. So I chose to be a secret agent of change. And just to cut a long story short, I mean, this is you've seen Prison Break. This is the kind of prison that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. This is blood on the floor is a daily occurrence. Attempted murders are weekly. Somebody was stabbed to death just before I got there. Yeah. Pentonville's not a nice place. And I went in there, essentially, I remember the first night with having the medical, and the prison doctor, after 10 minutes, leaned in. He says, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." He says, "Are you undercover?" And I laughed. I said, "Why do you ask?" He said, "I've been a prison doctor for 20 years. I've never seen anybody so happy on their first day in prison." Right? Anyway, as I say, long story short, I ended up getting a lot of people off drugs. I was stopping suicides. Hey, I was 15 years trainer with Tony. I saw a lot more crazies in Tony's seminars than I did in prison. I can promise you that. Right? I redesigned the intake system to reduce violence between the wings. I won a national award for the work that I did in there. It's now being used in prisons all over the world, including the US. And every 2 weeks, I wrote to my senior coaching students by hand. There's no computers, no email. Essentially showing them what I was doing and inviting them on the journey. As to, if I can do what I'm teaching you guys in here, what excuse have you got when your daughter comes home upset, or your wife, as company's downsizing, or whatever it is? Let me show you how to use the techniques you've been paying me a lot of money to learn in a real case study. Wow. And from the first letter I wrote, I said, "Don't worry about me. I'm just on location for 6 months filming the prison scene of my movie. Right? I'm going to be okay."
You need a movie.
Well, we all star in a movie, Joe. We star in the movie called The Movie of Our Life. Yeah. And I know you star in that movie because you're the only one that's in every single scene of that movie. Which means, that's right. Everyone else in your movie only plays one of two roles. At best, a supporting cast, wife, sibling, whatever. But the vast majority of people in your movie are nothing more than film extras. Now, how do you define that? Simple. A film extra is somebody that you're no longer thinking about when they're not in your current scene. But the vast majority of people are driven by goop, the good opinion of other people. And as a result, they're constantly adapting themselves out of authenticity, out of fear of rejection, or need of approval, or the need to prove themselves with their ego, whatever it may be. And they're doing it to essentially film extras. And the problem is, because we see ourselves as the star of our movie, we think everybody else sees us as the star of our movie, but they don't, because they're starring in a different movie, which means that by definition, most people don't care enough about you to bother to give an opinion because they're too busy being worried about what they think you're thinking of them, right? Because you're just a film extra in their movie. And everyone's walking around in this bubble of self-importance saying, hey, look at me in my bubble of self-importance, when everybody else is walking around in their own bubble of self-importance thinking, what are you thinking of me in my bubble of self-importance? So when you burst that bubble, when you're able to literally star in your own movie and live from a power of creation, not reaction, you have an entirely different level of movie. And that's how I saw myself. Hey, well, what movie do you want to watch? You don't want to pay good money to watch James Bond rescue a kitten out of a tree for 90 minutes. Right? Now, a good movie has everything: highs, lows, comedy, tragedy, drama, intrigue. And when we get to film the final scene in our movie, which we all will, I want to be lucky enough to have the last words come out of my mouth. You say, wow, now that is a movie I would pay to watch again. And if that means doing 6 months on location in Pentonville, right, in the prison, then hell, wow, what a movie. That was my attitude.
It was one hell of a movie, and it's amazing that it just kind of all goes back to what you're saying, and you're not just saying it, you're actually doing it. One, you had to focus on your mindset, but two, it's like focus on what you can control, right? And it's amazing that by focusing on what you can control, you won awards. You were helping people inside a prison and changing the way the process is at the prison, which I can't see how that would be an easy thing to do. And I'd imagine that most prisons are probably pretty set in their ways, the way they do things, and don't really care. So that in itself is, amazing. And I can only imagine what you were, doing while you're inside of there. So out of the 6 years,
you don't have to imagine, Joe. I actually published the 11 letters that I wrote into a book. It's called The Inside Track. And
I'm going to have to check that out.
It's literally just the 11 letters unedited. So you get to go through the journey in real time. And I share all of the intervention strategies that I was doing, the language patterns I was using, the mindsets that I was having to use on myself. Because there were days I was upset. There was days I was depressed. Not days, more like hours. But what do you do there? I've just lost everything. Top of the tree to zero. Writing crap about me in the press. Just about to take my home. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, can't do anything. And it takes a fair bit of strategy to get over that, an application, because theory doesn't cover the price of admission to the higher levels of greatness. As you said, it's one thing to know, but now you've got to know how. Not only know how, you've got to actually apply it. Yeah,
you got to take action and do it. And and you were probably flying high. Life was good, and then it's crazy how life can happen overnight and change. So this is 6 years ago. Like obviously there were no charges.
Oh no, it was civil action. Oh, by the way, they dropped all of the allegations when I went in for contempt. The allegation that they initially threw never made it to court. I knew it wouldn't.
Yeah, right. You still had to deal with it's crazy and scary. It just. Some of the legal systems are just designed not the right way.
Most of them. Who has got you can pay for better lawyers, can tell better stories in court, and that's the game. We kind of know it. And prison itself, even on the criminal side, which I never was, obviously, but even on the criminal, prison is not full of bad people. That's a misnomer. Right? There are some people in there that definitely need to be in there, but the vast majority of people that I was working with, they were good people that have simply made a bad decision.
Yeah. Yep.
And we forget that a lot of the time.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I believe that. So what would, like, you get back out? Like, what did you had to restart? Like, where did you go from there?
Minus $350,000 in debt. And I didn't even have a credit rating. My fiance, who I was due to be married, but obviously I was in prison when the wedding was there. Wedding was paid for in Portofino in Italy. Anyway, and she was just trying to do her own thing on survival. I get it. But she had my supplementary Black American Express card with $1 million limit. She thought I was going to go bankrupt, as most people did. I didn't. and thought, well, if he's going to go bankrupt for X, he'll go bankrupt for Y. So why don't I get some money to live on for 6 months? Bought a load of Rolexes to sell. Took a family shopping at Harrods. Ran it through a PayPal, paid off all of a BMW stuff. And the irony was, when I came out, I owed more to American Express than I did Hewlett Packard on that. I had a multi-decade, flawless 999 credit rating. And when I came out, I couldn't even open a bank account. I couldn't get a credit card. I couldn't get a debit card, like nothing. So not only am I coming out $350,000 in the hole, and I owed 150 people tickets to seminars, coaching trips, none of which I could pay for. And that was my first priority. How do I make whole the people that I'd let down? Because I was due to do a seminar 2 weeks after I was going to jail. No, I didn't see that happening. We just spent 50 grand on Facebook ads to sell 50 grand worth of tickets. So that, the money's gone. But guess what? You get to the seminar, you can buy other things if you feel they're valuable. But we've now got 50 grand worth of people want their money back, and there's nothing in the pot. It was a shit show. Really was. But I'm coming out, and I just want to make whole on those people. It took me 18 months. And I ended up giving 2 refunds out of 150 people. The rest I made good on. And that was my first priority. Then I was like, okay, how do I get my life back on track? And I decided to move to the Canary Islands. I basically borrowed an old van from a friend of mine that nobody would insure for breakdown, put my 2 Jack Russell Terriers in it, drove 2 days down the south of France, 2 days the south of Spain, 2 days on a ferry. And I ended up 5 years and a week ago, actually, it was here in Tenerife with $250,000 in debt I'd managed to get to at that point, and 1 month rent in the bank. And then last couple of months ago, I ended up buying my dream home here. We just won the ClickFunnels $25 million in Business Award, C Award, and pretty strong back on my feet. So, and part of the reason for that, before you ask what the key was when I came out, I didn't get upset. I didn't get stressed. I got excited. Why? I've never dug myself out of a hole that deep before. Should be fun.
And you were free. You're alive and free. Yeah. Oh my God. We'll talk about motivation. If you're feeling stuck, go throw yourself in jail.
Leave that to the crazies like me.
Yeah. Well, speaking of crazy, because the crazy doesn't stop with you, let's talk about what you're doing for Team Cheerfulness. I mean, I was just blown away by this. And, when does this start? Tell me all about how did this come about?
Well, the first letter I wrote to my students, as you'll see in the book, or you'll listen on the audio, is I talk about, obviously, life is a growth-centric event, not a comfort-centric event. That's one of the first days you wake up on emotional maturity, when you realize that. But I also talk about graduation events, and theory doesn't cover the price of admission, right? So a graduation event is essentially something the universe is going to give you to see if you actually know what it is that you're teaching. So I saw the jail thing as a graduation event for me. Am I able to walk my talk, or do I just look good on stage and podcasts, or am I able, throw me in prison where there's no second takes, and it's a real environment. And we all have our own graduation events. I was lucky I got a prison. For some people, it's a stage 4 diagnosis. For some people, it's losing a loved one dying in their arms. For others, it's a traumatic divorce. All right, I got it easy. So, but graduation events, it's like the Olympics. Olympics comes over every 4 years. So I thought I better do the next graduation event on my terms.
Seriously.
I signed up.
And this is what you came up with? Oh my God. You just really
I signed up for the world's
push the limits. I'm sorry?
I signed up for the world's toughest row. And it actually leaves each year from the Canaries, which I'm here as well. It actually takes Columbus's route, leaves on the same day from the same place, from La Gomera, that Columbus took.
Oh, wow.
And essentially, I'm in the pairs. So it's myself and my teammate, who's a childhood friend, ex-Royal Marine for 20 plus years. And we are going to be rowing unassisted, a small, unmotored rowing boat across the Atlantic to Antigua. And just to give you an idea, that's rowing constantly. So one person's rowing at all times. So it's rowing 2 hours. That's about the limit before the lactic acid builds up that it can't then dissipate for 2 hours. So 2 hours on, 2 hours off. And that's for, the 2 hours off is either boat maintenance, cooking, trying to get a 90-minute power nap. And that's 2 hours on, 2 hours off, 24/7 for about 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And again,
Yeah.
that's no support boats. In fact, I'm not even allowed to hold up a t-shirt to dry because they class that as a sail or a wind assistance, and it's all got to be manual on the arms. So we've got solar
Wow.
panels to power desalination, so we can have rehydrated food, power our communications. But you're unassisted. There is one safety boat that's around, but it's at any one time probably 4 days away,
Oh my
because the
God. Wow.
fleet's spread out. There's 30 boats in the event, and there's 4-man teams, which you've got 2 people rowing at all times, so that gets there faster. But yeah, and one of the reasons for this. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Peter.
You say, why would I choose this? As I say, theory doesn't cover the price of admission. Right now, I teach, I got 60,000 students as part of our programs. All right. And I teach self-mastery. How do you show up in jail with a smile, losing everything, and make it authentic, not through gritted teeth? Right? How do you turn around from losing everything and come out of the ashes on top? That's the entrepreneurial spirit. That's the self-mastery spirit. Now, when I'm 3-4 weeks into this race, and I'm in the middle of the Atlantic, and the nearest land is 5 miles beneath me. And I've not eaten for 24 hours because I'm seasick. I've got blisters on my hand. These are healing from my last training row right now. I've got blisters on my hand. I've got salt sores on my butt. And it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And I've got to go out and row 2 hours backwards in the dark in a rising sea. That's the time that my mind is going to give me every single excuse as to why I don't want to go to school that day, right? And as to why I should be there. And it's that moment I want to find out where I'm at. Am I still qualified to teach? Am I able to walk my talk? Or am I going to get, and it's not a guarantee. There's never been a race in previous several years that all the boats made it. There's been a death on the last 2. Jeez. Right? So it's not a walk in the park.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
There's more people that have been into space than have rode the Atlantic as a pair.
Wow, that's crazy. And to be honest, I can't believe they found 30 people, willing and crazy enough to do this at one time. And I can't believe I've never heard of this race before.
Yeah, worldstoughestrow.com is the website, and I signed up 2 years ago. There was a wait list, still is. There's always going to be enough crazy people out there.
There's no shortage of that. I mean, man, I give you a ton of credit. I'm definitely rooting for you. I'm definitely going to be tuning in. Can you watch this along the way? Like, will you
Absolutely.
be trying to post and things like that, or?
And the team name is called Team Cheerfulness, and it's taken from one of the Marine tenets, right? Cheerfulness in the face of adversity.
Wow.
How do you make humor the heart of morale? What happens when we capsize for the 9th time and lose an oar and get an injury and we have to can you still smile? Can you still make a joke? Can you still keep yourself on top, right? Or are you going to spiral into a negative vortex of despair and self-loathing? All right, that's, again, theory doesn't cover the price of admission, right? So from that side, Team Cheerfulness was born. And that's and we're doing it. We're hoping to raise $1 million for mental health. And mental health has 2 sides. One, you've got your traditional mental health, which is your PTSD, especially among veterans that we're helping as well. Your anxiety, depression, suicide, which is so prevalent today in society. But then the other side is of mental health is mental mastery. How do people like you and I that aren't suffering anxiety, depression, but we want to take our game to the next level? So teamcheerfulness.com, and we're giving away a whole load of stuff to help people. I'm giving away over $3 million worth of personal growth courses for people to take advantage of to try to support the cause. So you want to check in $25, you get $100 worth of stuff. You want to support us as a corporate partner and put in $10,000, $50,000, we'll give you $150,000 of mental health training for your staff to improve morale, to reduce sickness or stress. I just want to help. And this is what part of the row is about. So teamcheerfulness.com. If you want to come support us, it'd be amazing.
Good stuff. Well, go Team Cheerfulness. And I definitely will be checking it out and definitely want to support you as well. And definitely rooting for you, man. 2 months, no joke.
You can follow us live in real time. There's an app where you can download, track everything we're doing, and on social too. So
Yeah, I definitely will be following you and rooting you on, and I hope it goes as smooth as it can. I know it's not going to be an easy row. Um, I told you I was debating on checking out the row team locally here. I'm living in Long Island, New York, and I was debating and going back and forth. I think I'm going to have to join now because it's like I think you row on Sunday mornings or something, you know. So
Got to start somewhere. I'd never rowed before.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's yeah. Well, God bless, man. I hope that goes smooth, and I appreciate you being on the show today. You've had one heck of a wild journey, and it was great to learn more about you, and much respect for everything that you do. Just mindset. What you've accomplished, but also everything that you're doing to give back to help others. Um, you know, take control of their own lives and businesses, and grow and be better. So definitely appreciate that. And for folks watching today, where can they find you? And learn more.
Social is always a good place. I'm the real Peter Sage on Instagram, or follow me on YouTube. I'm always trying to put out content, and that's part of the thing with the row as well. It's like, let me go do this crazy thing if I can, but what is somebody else's row? It may be starting their first business. It may be running their first 5K after watching us row 5,000. It's always a way to raise our own limits, and that's why I say I don't want to make today about me, but hopefully if I can inspire you to be able to take the next step on whatever your journey is, or the next scene in your movie in a way, then that's amazing. And Joe, for what you're doing, putting this show on and helping as many people and entrepreneurs of our tribe as you can, I'm just super grateful for the opportunity.
Same here, man. All great stuff. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep growing. And what's a growth tip? One last word of advice that you would share with others that are watching the show today?
I said earlier that one of the greatest days in a human being's life is when they finally realize life is a growth-centric, not a comfort-centric experience. That's why I love Growth Show. And I would also say that one of the best days is where you finally also become okay not being liked. That doesn't mean to say you're happy being disliked, but when you realize that you're the star of your movie, stop selling out to be an unpaid film extra in somebody else's, live your dream, and sky's the limit.
Good stuff. Keep pushing yourself, keep growing. Well said, Peter. Thanks for being on the show today.
Welcome.